Huge news out of the combine on Tuesday, and honestly, unexpected news. Dave Canales no longer is the play caller in Carolina. It's going to be Brad Idzik. We'll talk about that right here on Locked On Panthers.
You are Locked On Panthers, your daily Carolina Panthers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, as always, Julian Council, talking Carolina Panthers with you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and yes, of course, Friday. Your team every day. That's our motto here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for watching the show right here on YouTube and for listening wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Massive Panthers news on Tuesday at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. Let's just back it up to a couple of weeks ago when Darrell Bevell was hired to be a senior offensive assistant and associate head coach here in Carolina. You saw that as a really good move for Dave Canales, considering that Dave, for the last 3 years, 1 in Tampa, 2 here in Carolina, has been a first-time play caller in the NFL, and he's had his ups and downs, especially here in Carolina. We've seen the yo-yo nature of his offense. And I wondered if Dave would be willing, even after I asked him back after locker room cleanout day, hey, are you still going to call plays? Are you going to bring somebody else in? And he said, right now, that is the plan. And I told y'all back then that plans can change. And it appeared maybe the plan was changing when Darrell Bevell was hired to come to Carolina. Now, he wasn't hired to be the OC, and I don't know if the Rooney rules would then get in the way of him actually being able to be the play caller, because typically the OC is a play caller, and that is obviously a very big role to have because that typically leads to guys getting head coaching jobs. I don't know if you can kind of circumvent that by hiring somebody like, I don't know what the plan was, but I didn't think it was as obvious that Darrell Bevell was going to come in and call plays in Carolina. He had been a play caller, multiple stops, 15 years of OC experience. He was the one who infamously decided to not hand the ball to Marshawn Lynch in that Super Bowl. Instead, Russell Wilson was picked up by Malcolm Butler. That was the guy who called that play. And that was the guy that a lot of people seemingly assumed was going to eventually be the play caller in Carolina, but not so fast, my friend, to quote the wonderful Lee Corso. When asked on Tuesday about that hire, Dave Canales gave us some news that I was not expecting.
Darrell comes in at a really special time. This year, going into the season, Brad Idzik will be calling plays for the Panthers. And this is something that all of us collectively have talked about as an organization. It was my idea to come up with this, and just kind of looking back and reflecting on it, thinking about how we've grown this offense and really wanting to be able to advance our football on the offensive side primarily by letting Brad, who's completely engulfed and entrenched in what we're doing offensively speaking, his continuity with the system, his continuity with our players, being able to do that, I believe, will be the best thing for us going forward. And for myself, just thinking about the big picture of it and the cultural growth that we've seen happen over these 2 years, all across the board, really on every level of our building, from strength and conditioning to athletic training, the coaching staff development, player development. This is a great opportunity for me to be more involved. As each year has gone by, the first year, as you can imagine, just really throwing myself fully into the offensive side of it and having conversations with, the different parts of our team. The second year, starting to broaden my perspective more to be involved with special teams and defense, and now this step allows me to do that in a greater way from a cultural standpoint, and specifically, as we're in games, my ability to be able to interact with the officials on an offensive series, where in the past 2 seasons I got to go to the next play. There's another one coming, but Brad is someone I have full confidence in, a man that worked together with to really build what we're doing here.
Wow. Did not see that one coming, especially when the question was about Darrell Bevell and him coming to Carolina, what his role would be. And Dave just being so open that, yeah, guys, I'm not calling plays anymore. It's going to be my right-hand man. It's going to be my guy, Brad Idzik, getting the opportunity, which I'm sure was music to a lot of y'all's ears when that happened. It perked mine up because I didn't think that was going to be what was going to come out of this conversation that the media had with him up in Indy on Tuesday afternoon, but that is the main storyline to come out in regards to the Panthers on Tuesday heading into the rest of the offseason. Brad Idzik is going to be your play caller, which does beg the question, how did Dave Canales come to this decision?
You know, my commitment since I've gotten here has been what's best for the Panthers, putting our players in best position to be successful, coaches as well. When I look at this allows me to be in a better position to affect our team, and this also allows Brad to affect the offense in a positive way. He's my primary architect for what we do offensively with the run game, the pass game, and the connection of it. And I saw this as an opportunity to streamline the work that goes in during the week and then to have that come alive on game day for the play caller who has a vision for what we're doing. And while this is a shared vision and a shared philosophy for how we play football, stylistically speaking, we're not changing any of the words. We're not changing our approach, but I want all of our processes to improve, and I believe this is an opportunity to do that.
They're not changing the words or their approach, but it's going to basically just be Brad Idzik running the show. So that is an interesting note that he had there at the end. Just overall, my thoughts, two big things here. This is the right decision for Dave Canales to make. I have brought up this point several times here on the show over the last month when just looking at the offense as a whole and Dave's role as the play caller in the offense. I have no problem with Dave, who is an offensive guy, having a role in what happens as far as the play design and what goes into the game plan. He's the head coach. Obviously, he should be in the know of that. I just did not like the idea of him continuing to be the head coach and the play caller. I have very few qualms, if any, at this point in time now about Dave Canales, the head coach, especially after what he's done in his first 2 years. We talked about this on the short show we did yesterday when discussing, or I guess really today, so I'm putting this out on Tuesday as well, when discussing just that 2024 coaching cycle behind Jim Harbaugh and Mike McDonald, who just won a Super Bowl. The best hire was Dave Canales. And you look at just second-year coaches in Carolina, Dave had a really good year, man. So I like what he's doing here to turn things around. I just felt like him as a play caller moving forward was not going to get the Panthers to that next step. And the tweet that Tom Pelissero of NFL Network put out there when they hired Darrell Bevell was to help the Panthers take that next step. I don't know if that was him being the play caller, because no one since Urban Meyer has wanted to be a play caller in the NFL. So why would that Carolina, especially when I can't ever get over what happened. I don't think anyone ever get over what happened with Marshawn not getting the ball there in that Super Bowl 11 years ago, whenever it was. But man, damn, Dave just wasn't that guy. In Tampa, Baker looked good. The run game was awful. He talked about being somewhere around the football, and we saw so many times he wasn't, and you saw the up and down nature of it all. But really, you look at the rest of the NFC. Ben Johnson, so good at calling plays, and he being a head coach as well. Sean McVay, the Wonder Boy, Kyle Shanahan, Kevin O'Connell. Dave Canales is not those guys and was never going to stack up to him. So maybe, just maybe, Brad Idzik will be that. Now, I have, when people have called for Brad Idzik to be the dude, push back on that, because I didn't think that a guy who had no experience calling plays outside of the first two preseason games this past year and training camp would be much better than Dave Canales going into it. So I have learned in recent weeks, and I brought this up, I believe, on the show, that the person who actually designs the plays and the architect of the offense is Brad Idzik. So it would make sense that Dave doesn't have as great a feel to call him the offense, because it's not Dave really coming up with the plays. It's Brad. So if Brad is the architect, he's the designer, then yeah, he should be the one who is building the offense and who's out there calling the plays and making everything come alive, which Dave loves to say. So that is something that does make it a lot more appealing. And he's your OC, man. And an OC's job typically is to call plays. And if you're not able to call plays, to go find somewhere else to be a play calling OC. And there have been times where guys have been able, like Mike LaFleur recently, going from LA down to Arizona with the Cardinals, getting a chance to actually be the head coach even without having called plays. So now Brad gets his opportunity, which is great for him, and I think is the best thing for the Panthers. And number two, it's another massive decision that Dave Canales has made. The first big one he made as head coach in Carolina was to bench Bryce Young after 2 games. He saw the crash out from Adam Thielen on the sideline. He saw Deontay Johnson, the malcontent that he was. This was not going to work out. that they were going to have to do something to not lose the locker room after 2 weeks. And that something was benching Bryce. Now, we saw how he handled it with his rhetoric in the media. I thought that was poor. Still feel that way today. But then Bryce came in. He earned the respect of Canales and the trust of Canales, even though we still saw at times, even last year, how much did they really trust him? But that was the right decision. And it did not feel like it was his decision, but it was his. It wasn't Tepper's, it was Dave's, and he made the right call there. The second one was one that he's actually kind of made twice now, and that y'all all hate for the most part, and that's sticking with Darrell Bevell. Quietly giving the an extension, then after this year letting us know, hey, he's still under contract for a couple more years, and he's coming back. But he's standing by his man. And if you're going to be a head coach and you feel good about what you have with the scheme, with the coordinator, and you think that you just got to get a couple more pieces right defensively as far as personnel and in comfort level, if you really believe in that, then fine, man. Stick to your guns, do it with your whole chest, and he's doing that with Jero. And now he's decided, after reviewing everything, knowing his relationship with Brad, having Darrell Bevell come over, that he's going to take a step back and just be the head coach. Great choice, Dave Canales. Now, again, this was his decision. I'll let Dave explain more to why he made this decision in just a moment here on Locked On Panthers. Welcome to the 5-hour energy flavor draft. We're looking at every aspect of the draft to let you know which tasty flavors are the best and which just might be sleepers. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and only one is going to take the top spot. 5-hour energy has a wide variety of flavors and something for everyone. And personally, my number one pick, my favorite flavor is cherry. I love the bold cherry candy style flavor. It's sweet with a light tart edge and has a clean, slightly tangy finish. Find your new favorite flavor. 5-hour energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. As the new year gets going, a lot of people are trying to simplify their routines, and dinner is a big one. Between busy work days, cold winter nights, and packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference. That's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-proportioned ingredients right to your door with easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great. They're rated number one by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. And it's easy to see why. Meals come ready to fit your schedule. 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays, or quick lunches. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering my listeners, that's you guys, 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is when you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for. Trust Indeed Sponsor Jobs. Hiring Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on either sites. Indeed Sponsor Jobs puts your posts at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. Sponsor Jobs boost your posts to the right people who are the best match for your role, and that makes a real difference. According to Indeed data, sponsor jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsor jobs. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed Sponsor Jobs. Listeners of this show get a $75 sponsor job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Dave Canales will not call plays for the Carolina Panthers offensively in 2026. He's going to step back and just be the head coach. Instead, his buddy, Brad Idzik, the offensive coordinator, will get to be fully the offensive coordinator by calling the plays in 2026. Now, Dave wanted to make this very clear on Tuesday afternoon that this was not Dan Morgan's decision, was not David Tepper's decision. It was his decision.
This was my decision. It was extremely difficult for me because I do enjoy calling plays. It's a part of the game that really thrills me. I get a lot of gratification out of watching the plan unfold on Sundays and just the high stakes moments. Like, those are incredible moments to be able to make critical calls and to put guys in positions to give ourselves a chance to win. And so I certainly didn't want to give that part up. And, Dan, Brant, myself, Mr. Tepper, I have their full support. This was a plan that, as we thought about it and went through the process afterwards, I saw this as an opportunity to make the Panthers better and had a plan for that. Darrell's a big part of that. bringing his experience from a play caller standpoint, building our systems, helping us grow all of those things, and really having that, just kind of like having allowing Brad to have somebody with that type of experience to lean on, with my humbling 3 experiences that I have, he's lived all of those, but I want him to be able to see more of that. And, certainly humbling to have to kind of swallow that and say, okay, like, am I the best guy for this job? That was definitely what I wrestled with, but I believe this is the right thing for the Panthers.
Man, I have a lot of respect for Dave making this decision. I respect his humility. He talked about it's difficult. And there's a lot of times where we have to humble ourselves and realize what's the best thing for the organization. And I love that he says for the Panthers, not for us, but for the Panthers. He's taking a step back in understanding for everyone, for you, the fan, for the players, for the organization as a whole, for the Panthers. It's the best decision for us. He said, quote, "This was my decision. It was extremely difficult for me because I enjoy calling plays. It's the part of the game that really thrills me. I believe this is the right thing for the Panthers." Those 2 statements, among the others that he made there at the dais on Tuesday afternoon in Indy, are the signs of a good coach. I told y'all earlier, I didn't really have much of an issue with the head coach in Dave Canales. I had an issue with the play caller in Dave Canales. Now, if you want to, I guess, nitpick clock management, that may be the one thing that you look at and you're not loving, but now he's actually stepping back just being a head coach. We've never seen Dave be the head coach without calling plays. So maybe that gets buttoned up and it allows the flow of the operation. There's been a lot of times where the play calls get in too late and you got to call timeout. Why is that? Maybe because this guy, for the first time ever, is being a play caller and a head coach at the same time at the NFL level. That can cause difficulty. But man, this is a good sign of a guy who already thought was doing a good job here in Carolina, really good job, maybe not a great job, but a really good job in Carolina, and goes even more to what I talked about yesterday, today, he's one of the better hires that was made back in 2024. The Panthers had the worst job, and yet they were able to get one of the top 3 dudes taken out of the 8 coaches, and a lot of them are no longer around. You could say it's by default, but man, Dave has done a great job, and this is the only place he interviewed, only place I want to interview him, and here he is, making the right decision yet again, in my opinion. It could go wrong, but he was not the right guy. Maybe Brad is, maybe he's not. We get a chance now to find out. And Brad's been there with him along the way. He was there in Seattle. He came over with him. I think it was the only Seahawks staffer to come with him to Tampa to be his wide receiver coach. And he came with him obviously here. And Dave even talked about how he's been a part of the interview process to Carolina. There was apparently an interview with Vanderbilt a couple of years ago. I don't know whether that was for the head coaching job that Clark Lee got or as a coordinator, but he thought about going to Nashville to work in college at Vandy. And even it was asked just about personally what this means for him to give Brad this opportunity, and saying it allows me to be the head coach, and how excited he is for Brad, who's done so much work to help him to this point, to get this organization to where it's at right now, to where Dave feels like this is the right decision. So really cool to see just 2 really friends at their core have this moment, and one of their friends taking a step. Like how many people that you're friends with do you think would actually do this for you? Would recognize that, man, I'm not the right guy for this. You need to be the guy. I hired you to be my OC. I need you to be my OC, be my play caller. How many of y'all would be able to do that? I'm sure not very many of us. And hell, I mean, Dave, we read about his story. Like he's certainly different than a lot of us. And I got respect for him here, man. As a man and as a coach, but to make that decision. One other thing I want to point out that Dave did inform us with the coaching changes, Dom Capers is going to the Browns. He will no longer be around in Carolina. He's going to be a senior defensive assistant there. That is, I guess, unfortunate considering he's the first head coach in Carolina. Obviously, it was a helpful mentor, not just Dave, but really Jero Rivero on the defensive side of the ball. Now he's going to go join Todd Monken's staff in Cleveland. So enjoy, Dom. Appreciate having you back here in the Carolinas, but he's going to go up and do that. And, of course, Brad Idzik, going to be the play caller. You now have hired Darrell Bevell. Mike Bercovici is going to be the passing game coordinator now. Apparently last year he took over third down. I don't know what that means, whether it was like play design or the philosophy, whatever it's going to be. But now he's going to be the passing game coordinator in Carolina. So he takes a step further down the pecking order or closer up the totem pole, or further up the totem pole, whatever I'm trying to say, the hierarchy to get closer to getting opportunity to be in a position that Brad Idzik's in as a play caller, then eventually as a head coach. We'll always remember Burko back when he was at Arizona State, that Hail Mary against USC. So cool that he's here in Carolina. Now he's getting this opportunity. But the big news of the day, Brad Idzik, finally, for all of y'all that have been begging for it, he is the play caller in Carolina, and Dave Canales has taken a step back and will just simply be the head coach. But that's going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network, hosted by yours, Julian Council. Again, y'all subscribe or follow the show for free over on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And be sure to follow me, Julian Council, over on Twitter and Blue Sky at Julian Council, where I'm back with y'all on Friday, answering your weekly Friday mailbag questions. All you got to do is at me or DM me over on Twitter or over on Blue Sky at Julian Council to get those questions to me right now. In the meantime, be safe, be happy, be whole. As always, keep pounding. And I've stacked a lot of these shows, basically all coming out on Tuesday. Maybe you're watching it on Wednesday or listening on Wednesday. But on Thursday, I'm going to have Damian Parson, no S, Damian Parson of the Locked On NFL Draft. He's up in Indy this week. Got to talk to him before he flew out there to get his thoughts on this Panthers roster, their needs, all of that draft goodness that you guys love to talk about. And of course, I love talking about it too. Got that coming up here on Thursday on Locked On Panthers.